Welcome back, everyone, to the McGill Tax Policy Colloquium. My name is Tarcísio Magalhães. I'm a tax lecturer at McGill Law, and I'm also a research professor of utilization taxation at the University of Antwerp. I'll just start by saying how grateful we are to have Professor Diheng Xu with us today. Professor Diheng Xu is an assistant professor at the Tilburg School of Economics and Management, the Department of Tax Economics, and the Fiscal Institute Tilburg at Tilburg University in the Netherlands. I hand it over to you and you can start.
Hello, everyone. My name is Diheng. It's really nice to be here with you. Okay, today's topic is about my paper. The paper is about China's claim on location-specific advantages. First, I want to introduce a bit the background of the paper because I don't think you know much about China. So the background is that, China is developing very fast in recent decades, while the starting point is that in 1978, China introduced the reform and open policy. And since then, China has opened its market to the world and started to integrate into the world economy. And then the economy started to boost because China also introduced market economy into its socialist system. And in 2001, China entered the World Trade Organization and integrated further with the world economy. So the economy boosted hugely since the access to the WTO. And the current data shows that the GDP of China is now ranking as number 2 in the world, just next to the US. And it's also like a capital importing and capital exporting country, because in the part we can see that China was a main destination for foreign direct investment. So it was considered like a top destination for as capital importing country. But recent years, we also see that China's becoming a capital exporting country, considering its increasing economic status in the world. So that's quite unique and special. And I think most of you are familiar with China in the past. Like a lot of things are made in China. So China is considered as the factory of the world. It's quite easy to see clothing, many things, the daily life things you use. Most of them are made in China. Yeah, that was considered as the old China. But now China is also becoming like the market of the world. So many things are sold in China too. And the interesting thing is that Chinese people, they have a preference for foreign products like cars, luxuries, and well-being products. So a lot of foreign products are sold in China. And today is 5th November, right? Just in a few days, 11th November is considered as the biggest shopping day in China, which is comparable to Black Friday in the US and also maybe in Canada. So on that day, almost all Chinese people will buy things online from Alibaba and other online providers. So many foreign products, they have their huge sale on that day. So you see that that's the transition from what is made in China to sold in China. And the new signal is that a lot of things are created in China nowadays, especially many multinational enterprises. they located their R&D center in China. So they just localized their R&D research for Chinese preferences. And they also use like local Chinese talents there. As you can see that like Apple, in the past, it only has like white and black color. But nowadays you can see that it has like the gold color. And also specifically there's a red color. They sell it very well in China because Chinese people like red. And yeah, so you can see that the change from made in China to sold in China to things created in China. That's the huge like evolution. So under this background, China also faces like transfer pricing issues. And in 2013, China started to claim these location-specific advantages, LSAs. So it mainly contains two parts. One is called location savings, and the other is market premiums. Location savings is kind of like easy to understand because things produced in China, they have lower costs for M&Es because like the raw materials, labor, rent, transportation, and infrastructure are cheaper in China. So compared to producing things and products in the home countries of M&Es, they prefer to locate their factories, manufacturers in China. Then they can save a lot of costs. That's why things are made in China. And then there is location saving. And market premium is quite unique for Chinese market because there are some like unique factors in Chinese market that can influence the sale and demand, which means that there are like additional profits gained by M&Es in Chinese market. For example, the price of cars and luxuries are much higher in China compared like in other developed countries or home countries of M&Es. The reason is that, like as I said before, Chinese people, especially the new middle class, they have very strong preference for this like foreign imported like cars and luxuries, and they are willing to pay higher prices for such things, and the demand always outweighs the supply. That's the reason why these M&Es can charge like higher prices in Chinese market. So that's why they are sold very well in Chinese market. I think you can see like if you go to, I think in Canada, you can also see that if you go to those luxury stores, you can always meet Chinese people. And also at the airport, everywhere, those duty-free places, you always see a lot of Chinese people. Yeah, they just like these things. And it's just too expensive to buy them in China's domestic market. So they just go like abroad, that they take the chance to have like a lower price. Yeah, but like in domestic market, things are really expensive, but still people are willing to pay for that. So that's market premiums, the unique factors that can influence the sale and demand. And that's the basic concept of location savings and market premiums. And what does China say about that? Well, China, the Chinese tax authority thinks that while the transfer pricing outcome is not aligned with value creation, in Chinese market because all profits go to the resident country instead of the source state. And China's claim is that it hopes to allocate all the profits derived from LSAs to the country of LSAs here, like China. And it proposed like a 4-step approach to claim such allocation of profits. And the steps are quite simple. The first one is to identify if an LSA exists, and then determine whether the LSA generates additional profits. And thirdly, quantify and measuring the additional profits arising from LSAs. And finally, determine the transfer pricing method to allocate the profits arising from LSA. Yeah, looks quite clear and simple, right? And I want to show you an example. This example was given by the Chinese Tax Authority in the 2013 UN transfer pricing manual, and it's about location savings. And then you can see from the calculation, it uses a full cost markup to calculate the arm's length price. So it's assumed that the median full cost markup is 8%. And then it calculates the difference between the cost base of Chinese taxpayer, here is 100, and the average cost base of foreign companies, like 115. So that's the location savings here. So there's the MNE can save like 50 for the cost if it produces in China. And then the Chinese tax authorities that use this 8% full cost markup to multiply this 50. So the result is 4. And China claims that this additional 4 profit should be attributed to China for location savings. And then then the arm's length price can be readjusted. So you see that in total, only like 4 out of 50 will be attributed to Chinese market. It's not that much, right? It's even less than 10%. That's just an example given by the tax authority. For location savings, well, for market premiums, well, the calculation, I think, is more difficult because it needs more like data and empirical analysis. But the steps, this 4-step approach, is the same as claimed by the tax authority. And then we need to like go to the background of BEPS project, or especially BEPS action plan 8 to 10 and 13. I don't know whether you have like many discussions already on BEPS. I assume so, because this is a very hot topic for international tax. And it was initiated by OECD and OECD countries. But I think nowadays, like many like non-OECD countries are also implementing BEPS action plans. While China is not a member of OECD, but China is a G20 country, and it's very active to support BEPS action plans, and it has actually implemented the minimum standards. So these transfer pricing action plans are one of the minimum standards, and China has already implemented it. And China still says that the arm's length principle is the guiding principle for tax adjustments. So it follows the OECD approach. But like in the country by country reporting, China proposed like more requirement for M&Es, because normally for this transfer pricing action plan, it requires like a master file, local file, and a CBC report. And for China, in the local file, and it requires M&Es to submit like a value chain analysis and also measurement and attribution of value creation contributed by LSAs. So it tries to embed like LSAs into the implementation of BEPS action plans. So it goes further than BEPS. It seems quite like a strong attitude from the Chinese tax authority. And now I want to go to the analysis of China's claim, because I think there are some like rationale for China to claim so, and we can analyze why China does so and whether it is reasonable or not, whether there are any other concerns need to be taken into account. So first of all, China's claim is not unique, because these LSAs was first proposed by the US, especially location savings. And in the US, there were already case law, if I remember correctly, the compact case law. It says that the court said that profits are allocated to local affiliates outside the US. So location savings, this concept was first like came up with by the US. And also India is another strong advocate for LSAs, because India is also a similar country as China, considering the low cost. So there are also many things made in India. And India also proposed this advocate on LSAs in 2013 and 2017 UN transfer pricing manual. So you can see that this claim on location-specific advantages is not unique, like for China, while it has been like proposed for other countries. And now we can see that like many other countries are also considering to take into account LSAs, for instance, South Africa and Vietnam, those emerging economies. And then we can see the rationale behind China's claim. So first we need to know the differences between two approaches. The first is the OECD's approach. So in transfer pricing, because OECD always takes a separate entity approach. It means that like the affiliates of multinational enterprises, they're always considered as separate independent entities. So if an M&E sets up an affiliate or a PE in China, so it is considered as a separate entity of the M&E group. That's why they always use the arm's length principle, because it treats like these affiliates as independent entities of the M&E group. but well, it's different, still different, because although they are like separate and independent entities of the MAE group, the MAE has its own like advantages, considering like location, internationalization. Yeah, so it's still different. While China takes like a one entity approach. So it considers the Chinese affiliate is a part of the MAE group. Then that's the main difference. So if you are clear about these different approaches, you will know that the results will be different. So from the OECD's perspective, profits should always go to the owner of intangibles, like the resident state. That's also the initiative of BEPS action plans, because there are too many tax avoidance activities by those like huge multinational enterprises. And they want to like allocate the profits back to those developed countries, those resident countries. However, the problem is that like these profits are always not taxed, because the resident, I mean these MAEs, they can easily just like transfer the profits to low or no tax countries. If you are familiar with the Apple and Starbucks stated case in the EU, then you will know that like these like companies, they hardly pay tax anywhere. So yeah, profits are not taxed. So in the end, the result is that there's double non-taxation. That's a problem for this OECD approach. Well, China's claim actually, I think, can provide a solution for this, because profits from LSAs, they are attributed to source state. Then this can solve the problem of the double non-taxation. Yeah, because LSAs, they are taxed in like here, China. So they don't need to be transferred to like Cayman Islands or British Virgin Islands, where they are not taxed. So I think in this way, from the theory of source taxation, it can solve the problem of double non-taxation. And if we go back to the objective of BEPS action plans, it tries to solve the problem of double non-taxation. And the general idea is that if the resident state does not tax, the source state should tax it. Yeah, that's simple, right? So, because MNEs, they can easily avoid tax by changing residence. So why not letting like the source state tax it? And LSAs are immovable rents that can be taxed at source. Yeah. So if the source state can tax it, they can just like get the revenue there. This is especially important for developing countries, because for many developing countries, they need this source tax. They rely heavily on FDI. So I think like the theory of source taxation can support a claim on LSAs, because LSAs are real. Another thing is that, well, it can be consistent with the arm's length principle and objectives of BEPS. Well, actually, the OECD, it admits that like the arm's length principle provides space for location savings and local market features, while it did not use the concept of market premiums, but local market features. But while it has included this in its transfer pricing manual, but it just said that the use of LSAs relies on circumstances. Only if there's no reliable local market comparables, then the source state can use this LSAs method to allocate profits. Well, China, as I mentioned before, has implemented BEPS action plans, and still now, the arm's length principle is the main principle to allocate profits and to make tax adjustments. So it does not break or violate arm's length principle, but still advocate it. And it did not take very aggressive unilateral actions. So it only tries to find some justifications within the scope to support LSAs. And the final result is that it tries to align the transfer pricing outcome with value creation, because as I explained before, that the Chinese tax authority thinks that right now the transfer pricing outcome is not aligned with the value creation, because the contribution in the Chinese market did not lead to profits allocated properly to the market. So from the perspective of arm's length principle and objectives of BEPS, I think the claim of LSAs can also find its support. And another thing is that it claimed it can become a reference for other countries. Because you see that LSAs are real, those location savings and market premiums from the Chinese market, they are real. And it's not only for China, as I said, because now India is also a strong advocate, and it's a common voice for many emerging economies, because now China is the representative, but China is also developing very fast. Maybe one day China will become a complete resident state. But other emerging countries, they will replace China to claim the LSAs. Yeah, if there's still difference between high cost countries and low cost countries. So there are always LSAs. So even if China does not claim it, other emerging economies can also claim it. So in the end, the OECD has to face the problem. So it's not only a unique claim by China now. So from the long run, the OECD has to solve the problem. Yeah, I think that's the main rationale or reasons or justifications for China's claim on LSAs. But it does not say that it's perfect, of course. There are concerns. So the first concern, I think, is that there's uncertainty, because China only proposed this approach in 2013 and also re-announced it in its 2017 transfer pricing menu. But until now, there's no detailed rules released on how to apply LSAs. it only like issued a document, as I said, to require like MNEs to give the value chain analysis in their local file, but no further like interpretations on how to like enforce the rules. And I did not do like empirical studies or interviews of MNEs, so I don't know in practice how it works. So I only like searched all the legal documents. Anyway, so far there's no detailed rules. It can create uncertainty for MNEs. And another thing is about discretion, because well, it also has to go back to China's like legal culture and also the allocation of power between the central tax authority and local tax authority. Well, uh, I think this approach or this like method proposed by the central tax authority is kind of complex, and China is a very huge country. So for local tax authorities, if they don't have expertise or training, then it's difficult for them to implement the rules, and there can be some mismatches. And also, some local tax authorities may use the discretion when they implement the rules. Then it can also create like uncertainty for those MNEs. And yeah, that's a difficult part. And China does not have like constitutional court, and uh, like taxpayers, of course, they can guarantee their right. They can go to the court, but the remedy method is also limited here in China. So they cannot like go to the court said well the rules itself is illegal. They can only like go to the court say that the tax authorities concrete action is illegal. So yeah, it's difficult to challenge the law itself. That's a difficult part for taxpayers. Then that's the main concern for implementing the rule. And another concern, I think, is about like tax competition, like new tax competition or the potential for new tax competition. Because like we see that there are many emerging economies. They can all claim for LSAs. So if more and more countries they claim for LSAs, and if there's no consensus on how to allocate this profit, and there will be increased tax competition, because each country will seize the revenue to its own jurisdiction, and it can cause like double taxation. That's like the OECD does not want to see. Yeah, so we need consensus, but that's also difficult considering the political economy nowadays. And the third part is interesting, is about equal treatment, because it's for China itself. We can see that China now is both a capital importing and capital exporting country. That's quite special. So it's changing from a source state to a resident state. So in this situation, now if China claims LSAs, so foreign MAs in China, they need to be very careful to on this report of this local file. But there are also many Chinese enterprises investing abroad. They are becoming MAs themselves. So can China treat them like equally as foreign MAs? There's a question mark. I also did not do like many empirical research on this, so I did not know the result, but I think this is a concern, a problem about equal treatment. And also like, you know that many countries, if they follow China to claim LSAs, then when Chinese enterprises investing abroad, while these domestic companies, they can also face like LSA challenges from other countries. So it's quite hard in this situation. It depends on how to make the balance. Well, if there's no equal treatment, then China will face more problem because China is a member of the WTO. It has the obligation to give like equal treatment for both domestic and foreign companies. So that's a third concern. And yeah, the last one is about China's political economy. Because we see that like around from 2016, China's economic growth pace is slowing down, and we now call it a new normal. So in past like 30 years, China's economy, the GDP growth is around 7 to 8% every year. But from 2016, it's slowing down, like below 7%. It's around like 6%. And now this year we have the COVID-19 crisis. So it's rather difficult. So in such a situation, I think not only China, but all countries, they need investment from like MNEs. And then the implementation of LSAs can be burdensome for MNEs. Then China faces this dilemma, like how to make the balance between protecting tax base and attracting FDI. And that's a real like a political economy question. So it can affect the final effect of implanting LSAs, because this claim was like proposed in 2013, but I think after 2017, 2018, we don't see like further like stronger like attitude or actions from Chinese government. I think this is a major concern. Yeah, the political economy concern. So yeah, that's the concerns part. And then I can come to my conclusions. It's about implications from this analysis. Well, I think the implications can be for both parties, and one for China and one for the OECD. Well, for China, the first, if it really wants to implement the LSA, it needs to release like more detailed rules and to increase legal certainty for MNEs. And also, it need to do the legal implementation because, well, as I said, there can be discretion at the local tax authority. And the rule of law in China is not that much the same as the common understanding of rule of law in the Western countries. So if China really wants to integrate into the world economy, and now it's becoming a like leader in the world economy, it has to follow the rule of law to do some legal implementation. And also it needs to reduce discretion when it implements those rules. And on the other hand, for the OECD, wow, I think it has to take into account China's claim on LSAs. because it's real and the claim is not that nonsense. It has its own strong justifications. And the OECD also needs to rethink its role, because at the beginning it was composed of developed countries, but now if you look at BEPS action plans, well, it's becoming quite extensive framework for both developed and developing countries. So if it really hopes to include more developing countries and to improve tax cooperation, it need to improve its institutional system to have more representation and substantial rights for non-member countries. Yeah, then I think that can, in the end, improve tax cooperation from a practical perspective. Yeah, I think that's it.
Thank you so much, Diheng. Let me just ask everyone to join me in a virtual round of applause.
Thank you.